Secondly, sir.
My dear, let's not talk about the election. We have a critical problem happening now. See, this is what I'm saying. We should all come together. Even you as a journalist should look beyond the election. People are dying of hunger. And we're talking about the election. What happens in the next election? I've said this publicly. Peter Obi is not desperate to be Nigerian president and desperate to see Nigeria work. Your children are suffering. So don't ask me that type of question, please. I'm begging you. Let's talk about how to save the country. If the country is working, I mustn't be president. They continue to voice it out and say, this is not what we expected. It has to be consistent. And I'm not saying they should go and start destroying things. We must remain civil and within the law, but consistently say no to bad governance. And we should resist where things are going wrong.
I'm sure now that it's becoming very visible to the blind and audible to the deaf. That is, if urgent steps are not taken to save this country from the hands of Tinubu and APC, we may never have a country. And so all of you talking about, I will not vote against this country, 2027, we are going to do that. If we don't urgently tackle, resist this current government of the policies, programs, project that they have embarked on, first INEC has been taken, right? That's a done deal. Now, legislative has been hijacked. Now, judiciary is now in their pockets. Almost finished. Democracy is gone. Good governance is not visible. There are policies and programs that have been embarked on. You say you want to save a country, and then you save so much money from the sweat of the people, because people can no longer have palliative or cushioning subsidy on some of the things that government is supposed to provide as services. And right now you are using the money to take care of yourselves, furnish houses, and these are the things that Peter Obi said in this video. I think Peter Obi has been quite soft, and now that he has again re-echoed that his pain is not to become president, but see Nigerian that work, and whatever we need to do as a people to resist him. I don't know what your definition for resistance is. I think that is the way to go. Watch the rest of the video for Peter Obi declaring that resistance of this current style of government needs to be implemented at all levels. We need to start to look back at this whole country and say, is this going to work? Are we going to sit here? An election cannot solve the problem of this country. Something urgent needs to be done. Watch this video, share this video, and then of course make your opinion count. I think this is the way to go. Whatever it may look like to your ears, this country needs urgent salvation, and only the people can actually get to do it, because currently we are moving so fast in the wrong direction. Look at this video again and share this video, right? And we hope that Peter Obi continue to talk like this, and people say he's soft, and then of course he wanted a country where there'll be peaceful transition from one democratic rule to another. But it's looking like those that are criminally gagged this country will not let go except they receive it by force. I'll catch you again soon.
And we should resist where things are going wrong. This question, which is the issue of the parties coming together. That is impossible. You're talking about coming together for election purpose. That's not what I'm talking. I'm talking about coming together for good governance and making sure that the people are well governed, are well served. That's two different things. When it is for election purpose, it is self-benefiting or transactional. But if it is for good governance, we can all come together and work together. And if we look at what President Obasanjo is talking about, I don't think he's talking against saying that democracy is not what we should adopt. No, he's talking about the applicability. Democracy, as is being practiced in the Western world, does not have universal acceptability and applicability. You have to look at what suits you. For example, if you look at democracy in America, where we even copy this presidential system of government, there's so many things that we've abandoned. If today you're president of America, you can't just, I've never heard in America that they bought vehicles for legislators. You can't just buy cars anyhow. I have never heard you can't buy cars for first lady anyhow. There's no, in fact in America, there's no office called Office of First Lady. It exists in name. And for the purpose of accompanying the president to trips, not just to have an office created.
So you decided to start trading. Better use plus 500.
Great ad, huh? We love it too. But now you're probably wondering what the plus in plus 500 stands for, right?
With enormous budgets that are even beyond critical areas of development. No, you cannot entertain people. In America, if the president chooses today to entertain guests, he will pay for the food. If he chooses to have different dishes, he will pay for it. So he can decide how my wife is going to have we're going to have this type of fish from Japan. At the end of the month, he has to pay for it. So these things don't happen. You don't have renovations of different houses for the president. You know, if the president of America goes to New York today, he stays in a hotel. I have accompanied the president to trip in the past. The hotel is the president of America was staying in a hotel. So these are issues. So we must look at what suits us. Again, look at how we can manage our own expense and everything. So what Obasanjo is saying that we must not adopt this and even adopt it wrongly as we are doing it today. The last one was an issue of
moving towards one party. How can we salvage that?
That is a disaster. And it can be salvaged again by the same everybody coming together. Not just now political parties, but civil society. The people must resist that because it's dangerous.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Okay, His Excellency, sir, you are the campaigner of a new Nigeria. And recently you described the former president, Atiku Abubakar, as your leader. If, for example, in 2027, and you are given the opportunity to become his vice, will you do that? Then secondly, sir.
My dear, let's not talk about the election. We have a critical problem happening now. See, this is what I'm saying. We should all come together. Even you as a journalist should look beyond the election. People are dying of hunger. And we're talking about the election. What happens in the next election? I've said this publicly. Peter Obi is not desperate to be Nigerian president and desperate to see Nigeria work. Your children are suffering. So don't ask me that type of question, please. I'm begging you. Let's talk about how to save the country. If the country is working, I mustn't be president. Let the country work for our future. Okay. I want the children of here to be looked after.
Okay, the next one is you said that Nigerians should try to resist those who want to stop the good governance of Nigeria. Particularly in the last election, we watched the exercise. We know that a lot of Nigerians supported you and they voted for you. But at the end, in this kind of scenario, how do Nigerians resist?
They continue to voice it out and say, this is not what we expected. It has to be consistent. And I'm not saying they should go and start destroying things. We must remain civil and within the law, but consistently say no to bad governance.
Your Excellency, good evening. Abaya Makibola is my name. I report for Wazobia, Nigerian Report. Let's go back to IPAC. Will you say IPAC as the umbrella body of all political parties in Nigeria has lived up to its expectation? If no, what would be your recommendation? How do you think IPAC can get it better for us to have the democracy we are all aiming for?
IPAC should go beyond being transactional and be effective in collectively opposing bad governance. That is their role. That is why they were formed, to say no when things are going wrong. And everybody can see today that things are going wrong in our country. It don't need to be told. We now have a situation where non-party carrying members are being appointed to be a referee in our coming elections. IPAC, civil society, and the people need to resist that. Even some of them who have been part of Togri and I'm becoming the referees. IPAC should voice out where 90% of our election now ends up in court. They should voice out where our courts have become courts of favors, courts of procurement, rather than courts of justice and the law. They should voice out where a situation where you have 3 recent judgments that are contradictory. Look at what is happening in Kano, Zamfara, and Plateau. All geared through opposition parties. I don't need to be a member of those parties to say that things are wrong. They are wrong. They are not good for democracy. My party is not in any of them. But it shouldn't be. Look at the elections that happened recently. In Kogi and everything, nobody's talking about the people who were killed, people who were men, and everything. Everybody is saying congratulations to something you know that was wrong. That's where IPAC, civil society, and everybody should voice out. It's not about who it benefits today or tomorrow. I've said it before. Nobody is buying fuel cheaper. Nobody is buying food cheaper. If anybody knows where it's cheaper, for it, one party or the other, show me so we can go there and buy.
That's not what say.
Okay. Your Excellency, good evening. My name is Mariam Sakari, Rock Liberty TV. I want to ask, perhaps it is time for restructuring. Nigerians have been talking about restructuring for a while now, and looking at everything that is happening, do you think that perhaps this is the time, to begin to go beyond talking about restructuring and actually coming together to hold a kind of maybe confab or conference?
I said it in my last conference that we need it immediately because we need to talk. We need to show, like I said at the beginning of this conference, that our compass is headed in the wrong direction. And if we don't do anything, it will consume everybody, and like it consumes everybody. Some people will think today they are benefiting or because it's this. No. In a situation where you have a looming crisis and we're playing about it, we've been warned of we're going to face hunger next year. We're using almost 100% of our revenue to service debts, and nobody can say how we pile the debts, what we use it for. In a place where, instead of putting our money, we've now been told we are bankrupt. Instead of now behaving like people who are bankrupt, we are still behaving like people who are still affluent. Because bankrupt people should be downsizing all expenditures that is not critical for development. But we are still going ahead, living a life that is beyond our resources, even when borrowing to continue such life. So there are things we need to do. All these things are things we need to look at. It's time to look at whether this presidential system suits us or whether we can change and go back to parliamentary system. Because we cannot have a situation, and that's what Obasanjo is saying. Let's have something that can suit us. Whether it's parliamentary or presidential, it is time that we elect people who must be answerable to us. We can no longer continue to have an elected people who answer us through third parties or source comments to us and everything. It cannot continue. We need to do things differently. So I think restructuring, one, will help the various segments to develop simultaneously. And you will see it happen.